Well, very good afternoon, everybody, and happy Thursday. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Sandy Elson, and on behalf of the travel professional community and travelprofessionalnews.com, I want to welcome all of you to today's webinar and tell you how much we appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. You will be so happy that you did. Our host today is the Scenic Group. Our speaker is Jennifer Reynolds, CTC, CTIE. Jennifer has been involved in the travel industry both at sea and on land for over 30 years. Her worldwide experiences have provided her with an impressive set of skills and knowledge. She is reputed for her destination knowledge, outstanding presentations, and her dynamic and passionate personality. Jennifer's accomplishments and her contributions to the travel agency community have earned her a Certified Travel Industry Executive citation from the Travel Institute, as well as being named a two-time award winner of Travel Agent Magazine's Top Supplier Sales Representative. Jennifer is a graduate of St. Leo University School of Business in Hospitality and continues to serve as a member of the Industry Liaison Council for the Hospitality and International Tourism Program. Born in Toronto, Canada, Jennifer became a U.S. citizen in 2005. She lives in Tampa, Florida. Jennifer's topic today is Scenic Eclipse. Yes, thank you. Before we get started, please remember that you are all muted, but we welcome your questions. You can type in your questions at any time in the question area you see on the right-hand panel of your screen. At the end of Jennifer's presentation, we'll get to as many questions as we can. Also take note that at the end of the presentation, Jennifer will be awarding a prize of a $200 gift card. I'll talk more about that a little later, but you may want to take notes. So let's get right to all this exciting information about the Scenic Eclipse. Welcome, Jennifer.
Oh, thank you. Wow, I don't think I realized I gave you such a long introduction. My husband wrote that for me a number of years ago, but yeah, it's true. Like I said to you, Sandy, we're all living proof God protects the dumb and the innocent. I've been in this industry in my entire life in such a long period of time, and it's what I know, it's what I do, and it's kind of ridiculously what I'm compassionate and passionate about. Our time today is going to be looking at mostly the Scenic Eclipse. I'm going to introduce you to the Scenic Group as a company, who we are, what we do, why you should even be thinking, talking about us, why you should be investing your time today with us as you are. That's my photo on the upper right-hand side. I took that in Australia last year in December. The bottom right-hand side goes back a long time to 1991 when I worked on cruise ships, which I did for over 18 years. So I did start as a juggler unicyclist. I married a juggler unicyclist. I was part of a duo juggling magic act, but did move into shore excursions and had the opportunity to travel worldwide and see a lot of places. And I got to tell you, it's really served me well over the years. But in terms of sales managers out in the field, business development managers, regional people, whatever it is you want to call us these days, I am but one of a team of people with Krista and Mark and Oria, myself, and Tom and Charlie and Scott. We are all veterans in the business. We've been around a long time. I am merely the one individual chosen to connect with all of you today. On behalf of us at Scenic, what's really important is you know that there's a lot of people who are behind you to help you out. But you know, our company started over 33 years ago. That's Glenn Maroney on the left. And I think we need to understand our beginnings to understand why you should be saying yes, please, to the Eclipse and to Scenic. Glenn was very clever. He began this outbound tour operation out of Australia to Europe and other parts of the world a number of years ago and was very, very, very successful taking Australians. I'm very, very familiar with him being in Canada. He decided to branch out into the river market. He launched his own riverboats called Scenic River Cruises a number of years ago. There's 18 ships in the Scenic fleet, sailing on the Rhine, the Main, and the Danube, the Seine River over in Portugal, even over on the Douro. The hallmark of Scenic and the Scenic Rivers, the 18 ships, is their all-inclusivity. We are an Australian company traveling with Canadians and Australians and Brits and Americans. If you've never heard of Scenic in the U.S., good. You probably shouldn't have. We do consider ourselves and my sister brand Emerald to be a very well-kept secret. So good for you for coming out of your comfort zone and finding out about something a little unique and different that will likely suit your business and your travelers quite well. But the idea of Scenic is being fully inclusive and upscale in service. And on the rivers, it is fully inclusive. I mean, your transfers, your gratuities, your Wi-Fi, your coffee. We have butler service on board. The style of these ships on the river is a contemporary feel, but a darker contemporary feel. The food is exquisite. We can handle meal requests very easily on board any of our 18 ships on the rivers. And this is what one of the standard rooms would look like. What we sell mostly, sort of a mid-range in a balcony suite. But at Scenic, we do always sell from the top down. Our suites do seem to go first. But it's the itineraries, the jewels of Europe from Amsterdam to Budapest. It's breaking that up into 7-day itineraries, looking at Bordeaux, the Seine River as well, certainly the Rhine and the Danube. Folks are going to get all of the sights and sounds of Europe, but the idea on Scenic is all inclusiveness. And I share this with you on the rivers because it spills over to the eclipse, and it matters. It makes a difference in the type of people who choose us, in the frequency with which people come back, traveling with Australians and Brits and Canadians and Americans, having to choose in the destinations you go to. In this particular choice, there I was on the left at Chesky Kremlov, and the rest of the group went to Salzburg in Austria on the right-hand side. But there's signature things that go across the fleet: our service, the nth degree, the scenic and rich. These are culturally enriching experiences that are created just for us on Scenic. So we have our Scenic riverboats. There's 18 of them. And Scenic Rivers has a sister, and her name is Emerald. And this is the 7 ships in the Emerald fleet. And I often say, when you look at riverboats and look at them here, riverboats are riverboats. You know, you get 3 decks, a bunch of cabins, and a main lounge and a dining room. But there is a little bit of a different feel on Emerald. And again, to understand who we are and what we do, you need to be familiar with Emerald. There's 7 ships in the fleet. On these riverboats, they have a feel of a contemporary style, again, with Brits, Canadians, and Americans. Heated swimming pool by daytime. At night, this converts into a cinema. Where our Scenic riverboats are full-on inclusive, our Emerald riverboats are not quite as inclusive. Here on Emerald, it is wine, beer, and soft drinks with lunch and dinner. We do include 1 excursion in each port, and certainly there's just a myriad of destinations to be able to choose from, in Europe and around the world. But our office in the U.S. is in Boston. We have an office in Australia, and I have an office in Canada as well. The folks that I work with, you see on the screen there, run our Boston office. With the 2 rivers, with Scenic and Emerald, I do an awful lot of groups, an awful lot of small groups. And your sales manager, your local individual, can help you with that when it comes to the rivers. But we are a global company, and we have a new addition to our family, and she's called the Scenic Eclipse. Scenic as a company has been around. You may know that name ever so slightly, or even Emerald a little bit. But to understand the Eclipse, it is very much like our Scenic River product in the all-inclusiveness. Yet, it's our foray into ocean. And this beautiful piece of really machinery is going to be the focus of our time together today. The Scenic Eclipse was a lot of years in development. She was chosen a shipyard in Puglia in Croatia to build her. The origination from Glenn, the vision was seeing a vessel and saying, I'd like to have a cruise ship type of ship that is more like a yacht for people that aren't billionaires but do want to travel and enjoy this type of experience. And that was the beginning of the creation, really, of the Eclipse and what she stands for and really what she's all about. Nothing like this has ever been built before. She's kind of like a cruise ship, but more like an expedition yacht. The plans were very carefully laid out for her. The shipyard did suffer a work shortage when some of the members of the field went on strike, which was a problem. Then they suffered some financial issues. And Glenn pursued and he stuck by his project to build this type of yacht that has never seen the water before. 16,000 tons, or just under 17,000 really. 114 cabins for 228 people, 10 dining venues on board, spa facilities that are frankly the size of my home, which is pretty incredible. She was not designed to be home ported anywhere. She's designed to travel around the world and follow the seasons. I spent a number of years after I worked for Regency Cruises as a Shore Excursion Manager and, well, part of the duo Juggling Magic Act. I was later on picked up by Silver Sea Cruises, and I ran shore excursions on board the Silver Cloud. And I had an opportunity to continue in a seasonal fashion, traveling around the world. Yes, going into the Med and touching on the Baltic and a little bit of the Mediterranean, but frankly, getting up to places like Longyearbyen, which is in the Svalbard archipelago, doing Iceland and Greenland and sailing completely around Iceland. We will be dabbling with a Arctic passage route. These are the kinds of itineraries that are incredible, through the Panama Canal, down the coast of South America. But what was this ship designed to do? Antarctic. She's designed for the Arctic and the Antarctic areas. She has a ice hull on board. She is completely all suites, no interior cabins, I'm afraid, unless you're, I think, in the crew quarters. It has all the hallmarks of our scenic vessels with the scenic and rich experiences, the all-inclusiveness of the free choice. And in August, she was christened. September, she was christened in New York. And if you recognize that individual in the middle, that is Dame Helen Mirren, and she was so thrilled with what she saw. And that is alongside in New York City when our ship was christened, and she is a beauty. And I'm just thrilled that you're here to share and learn a little bit more with her, because Eclipse has a helicopter on board. Not only does Eclipse have a helicopter on board, she has a submarine. We'll touch on these in a bit more detail. My husband, after the juggler unicyclist, was an oceanographer who did a tremendous amount of work under the surface of the ocean. We know so much less about the oceans than we know about our sky, than we know about the moon. And this vessel has a submarine on it and a helicopter. Yes, the submarine and the helicopter are additional. They are not ridiculously priced. For the submarine, for 20 minutes in the submarine is about $250 per person. The helicopter will run you about $475. Frankly, not much more than what you're going to pay for a helicopter flight up in Alaska. And by the way, you'll see some shots I show you a little bit later. This is actually from 2 passengers on board the vessel. And this was in Halifax Harbor. They went down to about 100 feet in Halifax Harbor. The submarine was built in Holland. The onboard of the vessel has a very classy, contemporary feel, almost a monochromatic in a very unique style. This is the main lounge. When you come on board, where you tend to find your way into immediately. I love the orchids. I'm a little bit of an orchid junkie. You can still smell the freshness of the carpets and see the views outside. Remember, all of your drinks are included on board. Beautiful fresh coffee on board here, but well, the star is always going to be the lounge. Remember, this is an expedition ship. She does have a nice hull, so she can handle her own in Arctic and Antarctic waters. And we'll talk about the difference between the two in a little bit. But this theater is really prized. We are really proud that this ship is not only filled with style, but she's also filled with substance. Never forget that this is first and foremost an expedition ship. It will be luxury. It definitely is upscale. But it's here that you will meet your enrichment lecturers, where your chairs will tilt back, where programs will be given to your ornithologists and glaciologists will be sharing things with you. The places that you're going, where the submarine went down to that day, photographs that they got of the helicopters above, that's what this is really all about. Being able to get outside, the observation lounge and library have a very, very good selection of books. I was also pleased there's some great trade-offs. They've got a nice selection of paper books there. Being who I am, one of the first things I did was look at the titles of the books, and indeed, they are all extremely conducive to the parts of the world we're going to. So there's books on the Arctic and the Antarctic and the history of the Baltic and South America, and those are all very, very critical components of what these journeys are all about. There's a spa on board, very, very well-equipped spa, a gentleman's side as well as the ladies' side. There's the spa sanctuary. Those are Bose headsets. You can choose your music and chill out pretty nicely. The gymnasium is quite well-equipped. I chatted with some folks who were on board last week. They were a little surprised and said the gym wasn't getting too much use, but also thought perhaps the time of the day or whatever it may be. On the other side, a lot of Pilates and classes. So obviously you can sense that there is a great focus on health and on wellness. But my friends, never, ever, ever forget that discovery and expedition come first. Well, this is a ship of substance, and it is, it is certainly filled with style, but we've got our substance in our discovery room. Downstairs, our mudroom, climate controlled. Those are boots and parkas that you see that will be used in the Arctic and the Antarctic. We're looking at different types of itineraries. Some of them are going to be very expedition driven. Others would be what in my field as a former Shore Ex manager, we would call light expedition, where we dip a Zodiac in the water, where we give it a little go with a kayak. But these are the people that are going to make it happen. And a lot of them, that my heart goes pitter-patter and my eyes actually fill up a bit, because I look at these individuals, I look at these people. There's a lot of Canadians in here. The gentleman, in the rear row, fourth in, he's from Palm Beach. He's a helicopter pilot. Let's see, Remy, I think, is in there. He's the submarine pilot. He's the one in the jumpsuit on the bottom right-hand side. These are people that are in the apexes of their career, that have just graduated university. They've got their doctorates. They're collecting marine samples. They're doing incredible things. And that's why when you say Scenic Eclipse, yes, please, it's because of this discovery team and these people that are going to make all the difference in the world, my friends. It's an open bridge policy. I was just thrilled to have had a walk around the ship in Miami last Sunday, and not only was the bridge open, the door to the bridge was open, and they even had coffee and cold water set up. So you could yickety-yak at everything and talk to the officers and where were we going and what's this equipment, and good God, don't touch that button over there. That's what this experiences are really all about. Everything on here is state of the art. It has to be. Do you know there's not even an anchor on board Scenic Eclipse? The equipment is so sophisticated that she can be kept at a specific latitude and longitude to the exact seconds, so that you can launch effortlessly into kayaks and into Zodiacs. The suites are starting all outside, 345 to 400 and some odd square feet. I've got 114 or total suites for 228 passengers. But that's not in the Antarctic. In the Antarctic, we only take 200, but I'll talk about that a little bit more. There are spa suites on board, about a dozen of these spa suites. They're a little bit larger. They've got a favored location and a really cool feature. I really never thought I'd ever see this on the ship, but the wall, if you will, between the bathroom that you're looking at on the right-hand side behind the television, you simply push a button and that mists over and gives you the privacy in the bathroom that you would be looking for. So yeah, nothing has been really missed here in terms of the amenities in the bathrobes and the upper end types of things. The owner's penthouse suite, over 2,000 square feet. It has an outdoor balcony that's just absolutely magnificent. And frankly, you could just throw a blanket over me right there in the bathroom. And yeah, that's actually the bathroom of the owner's suite. And that window does, at the touch of a button, pop down. I shouldn't say the word pop. It does slide down. And that is the hallmark balconies and windows that we have here on Scenic that really makes a difference of the type of journey and experiences that we're able to offer, because you can hit that button and hold your drink and look out and have a complete open sky. You have that whole open space. That's a real hallmark of what we're trying to do with Eclipse. She's different. Nothing like her exists. There's 10 dining venues on board, and I have to admit I was a little nervous in here. I jokingly say I am much more of a sewer than a connoisseur, and I was delighted to learn that I would be just as at home asking for a grilled ham and cheese sandwich or a bowl of tomato soup as I would ordering off of any of the menus anywhere on the ship. The food has been very good. Again, I believe I put some of the accolades in. I'll show you. There is a chef's table. It's done on board. The team on board does select the people for the chef's table. They have their own criteria and such on board. If you had someone who was traveling with us, we could certainly make the request, but it really is up to the ship. But this chef's table is so interesting and well done with the chef on the Scenic. It's only done every second night on board. It's not even done every night. So yes, the food and how it's presented and Coco's with the Asian flair. And indeed the room service and going upstairs to the yacht club and being able to experience that as well. These are all of your dining venues. So there's over 10 dining venues on board for 200 people. So there isn't a problem getting into the different places. Azure Bar and Grill, a lot goes on here. I love being able to sit outside in the back and take your coffee. There's our yacht club. In the yacht club with the swimming pool and the tables all set up, and certainly Epicure. They made ceviche last week. The ship was on its way from Miami over to Belize. And in the Epicure, they made a delicious ceviche. And of course, my gut told me there was a lot of wine involved in the ceviche. A friend of mine was on board and sharing it with me, but they had an absolutely magnificent time. And that's exactly what it's really all about. Eclipse is not a big ship. She's only 17,000 tons. She's got eight decks. What I like about her draft is only 17 feet. And it may sound crazy to share that kind of knowledge with you, but drafts are important with the types of ports that we are going into. 17 feet requires a little more than 17 feet of water to be able to go in and out comfortably. If we are in Arctic or Antarctic, we do have the ability to handle the ice exquisitely well, which is why she's such a good expedition vessel. But when you go from bigger ships to smaller ships, people are often concerned about the motion, and they should be, because these are expeditionary itineraries and you may be on the open ocean. There's a couple of things that make this ship really very, very different. She was just built. She's more of a yacht than a cruise ship, and I'm going to keep saying that. Her stabilizers are extremely, extremely good. If you look on the left where the red is, that is a ship with regular stabilizers. This is a zero-speed stabilized cruise ship. On the right-hand side, notice the size of the fins on our expedition yacht on the right-hand side. These are larger and positioned slightly different and capture more of the force of the water, giving the ship much more stability to be able to ride. Subsequent to that, and this is the cool stuff that makes this ship what she is. It may go, oh, it's the world's first offshore dynamic positioning of a cruise ship. Woohoo! What that means is we don't need to drop an anchor anywhere in the ocean. What that means is the ship can be held at an exact latitude and longitude. You and I can get in and out of those Zodiacs. We can get in and out of those kayaks without getting our little tootsies wet, and it'll be a heck of a lot more stabler than any tender somebody stepped into over on Coco Key. That's exactly what this ship was designed to do. And this is not a conventional ship because, of course, it has a submarine on board. This submarine is called Neptune. She was built in Holland. It is one of the first commercial subs to go out on ships. There are other privately built vessels that have invested in this type of technology with the submarine, but it also has an ROV. There's a 6-passenger sub here. An ROV, for those of you not familiar, means a remote operated vehicle. And I really do like subs very much. A lot of the work gets done underneath the ocean. That's my husband on the left-hand side. He was involved in a project off of Bergen, Norway a number of years ago in 1995. And they found the world's first Arctic submarine sitting in 1,000 feet of water off of Bergen, Norway. And Nautilus still sits there today. I have a dream about taking Neptune down to go and look at Nautilus. It's exquisite to think of how few people in the world will ever have the opportunity to sail on a vessel like this, or ever the opportunity to go into a submarine like this one, like Neptune, or ride up in one of the helicopters. The 2 helicopters are kept on board. The rotors come off. One is stored on the port side. One helicopter stored on the port side, stored on the other side. It's like a little machine, almost like a tow motor that pulls out an airplane. Will pull out these helicopters. About $500 for 20 minutes on the flight. Surprisingly quiet. This again is brand new equipment. Having lunch at the back in the yacht club and the helicopter taking off and landing didn't even knock the napkins out of our lap. We get permission in certain places to be able to go. When we were in New York City, someone said, well, I don't understand why you're not flying this helicopter in New York City. We were docked right beside the Intrepid. And I looked at him and said, because we'd like it to come back. There's laws and regulations. So what were we able to do once we sailed from New York? When we're off the ocean, the captain uses that dynamic positioning, and up goes the helicopter for people to be able to get views like this. So what was really amusing to me, Remy, the subpilot, was saying that people are almost shaking their whole heads and going, yeah, whatever, there's a helicopter on board, but wait until you see the submarine. And I got to admit, it does rock my world too. What you're looking at here, from September, Brian, I snipped this right off of the pages. There is the yacht club on the left. There's he and his wife in the submarine. There's Remy standing on top of the sub. They either tow it out or use one of the tenders to pull it out. And there's the Eclipse on the right-hand side in Newfoundland in Canada, one of the really neat little ports. I just love what Brian had to say. I've never met him. He did put this out on the internet. And there we go. I just find this kind of travel really exquisitely. You're traveling with individuals, like-minded people from around the world. Everybody's English speaking, but it's Brits and Canadians and Australians, and they're going to get what we're known for, which is our scenic free choice. This is all of the inclusions, the activities, the events. What you're looking at here are actually from the Halifax to New York. We pulled these right off of the internet, or off of our internal system, and share these with you. But guests to spectacular events, my friends, this is not a diving pool on the back of the ship. This is diving in the water and having a swim or going kayaking. This is not about evening entertainment. It's about where you go and what you do. You will be fed. You will be well watered, I can assure you, but it's really about substance. I show you this map again from Longyearbyen to Reykjavik in Iceland, Dublin, Bergen. The opportunities to travel are really there. And I think what I've really discovered with some of these itineraries and where people want to go is if it's something people really, really, really want to do, they're going to make it happen. And if you look over to the left-hand side and you see the date, the October 8th, October 20th, Colombia and Panama, that's where we are right now. The Scenic Eclipse left Miami. It's going to go to Colombia through the Panama Canal. It'll go down the west side of Panama, go through the Chilean fjords, and will arrive in mid-November, late November, for her season in the Antarctic. Antarctic, no matter how you look at it, is November, December, January, really up until about the early part of February and March. And then we make our way back over to Europe, spend some time in the Mediterranean, in Greece. And one thing I assure you, these price points are very good at some of these European and Med itineraries. We will be going over the northern part of taking the northern route, eventually going into Alaska and down the west coast back down into the Antarctic. So if you start seeing a little bit of a pattern here, you're absolutely right. When I look at itineraries in 21, things like the Iberian Discovery, the Mediterranean Discovery, 9 days for a price point of just over $6,000. That's fully inclusive, your liquor, your tours, your gratuities, your transfers, your Wi-Fi, your coffees. When you're in the Mediterranean and up here in the Scotland and the Hebrideans, In my world, that's not quite adventure. That's a little more of a regular cruise. Your seaborne folks, your Crystal, your Regent, your high-end Oceana, certainly your Haven on NCL. If they want a yacht-like smaller experience, this is it. Now, there's other expeditionary type of ships as well. You certainly can't go wrong with the Herzegruten family. Silver Sea has the expedition ship. Seabourne's popping theirs into the water. The Ritz-Carlton is coming soon. These are what you're going to have to determine will fit and work for your travelers. I consider these Arctic and fjords, I call these sort of light expedition. We're going to drop a Zodiac, a kayak. We start beefing up the expedition team. Probably going to need a little bit of expedition gear if we're going up to Longyearbyen. And some recommended reading is going to be in order. And some of these spots are not for the faint of heart at the end of the day. But look at in the September of 2020, that Alaska season, to come down through Seward. And I love how we're actually coming from Polar and then coming down through Dutch Harbor, Kodiak, Seward. When I worked on ships, we would always do the Seward to Vancouver route. Of course, with the Jones Act, we had to go foreign. And then eventually the whole ship's going to make its way down to Costa Rica and Peru, but I just have to draw your attention, $8,000 for a 12-day itinerary. And yeah, there is some West Coast. My hope is that when the ship is West Coast, we'll be able to do some ship visits. And we're just still recovering from the East Coast in Miami, and that's still a little ways away, but I can assure you, we will let you know if we have some ship visits on the West Coast of the country. But I really like expedition cruising, and that's really what this ship was designed to do. Please be careful. I caution you against using the word expedition too lightly or too heavily. It's like the word luxury. It can be overdone. You need to qualify it. To some people, expedition is a walk from their house to the car. To others, an expedition is from here to the Antarctic, and that's up to you to qualify. But when we look at the Arctic and the Antarctic, someone last week asked me if we were going to have a wheelchair-accessible cabin on board, and the answer to that would be no. It just would not be worth someone's funds. They would have trouble getting in and out on board because this is what our Antarctic is scheduled to look like. We're going to be doing it every November, December, January, February. There's solar eclipses. Remember, this is the Antarctic that is a year-round. It is their summer solstice in December, so it's their longest days of the year. I flash back to the late 90s when I was running shore excursions on board the Silver Cloud. We called into Punta Arenas and also into Ushuaia, and this is how we went to the Antarctic on board the Silver Cloud as a shore excursion manager. We chartered a 737 from National Airlines. We catered it and crewed the food and beverage from the ship because, heaven forbid, our people were not going to be eating airplane food. And what we did on several departures, we did it 3 times. We tried a 4th time and we were canceled due to bad weather. As a shore excursion manager, I sold every one of those people a window or an aisle seat at $1,300 a person so that we could fly over the Antarctic and gaze at this continent. But that was in the 90s. This kind of travel that we do today just really wasn't as common. The ships weren't as developed. The Drake Passage is not known for being known as the Drake Lake. It's generally very rough. But if you can survive to the other side and do the landings, this is exactly what you're going to see and what you are going to do. And I will share with you in December of this year, I am doing this journey in the Antarctic, not on board Eclipse, on a different vessel. I'm afraid the Eclipse was full, so there was no room at the inn for this little one. But this is what the Antarctic is all about. And in the Antarctic, there's Jason up there, who's one of our expedition leaders. In the Antarctic, you can only take 200 people on our ship. So although we have 114 cabins for 228 people, we have to carry a lot more crew. And our landings are limited to 100 per landing. So we don't sell all of our cabins on board when we go to the Antarctic. I want you to think about your travelers that are sailing luxury. And when I say luxury, I mean Crystal and Regent and high-end Oceania, and as I said earlier, even Haven, suites on NCL. And this is when we should be looking at some of the Europe itineraries, or even some of the American itineraries, because this is where we're going to be able to get people in for $700 and $800 per person per day, traveling on a luxury expedition style yacht sailing. And it is quite affordable when you look at some of those med itineraries, some of the Baltic, some of the lighter expedition. In all fairness, when you get down to the Antarctic, we need to double some of those prices, but a $1,400, $1,500 per person per day in the Antarctic is not that unusual. But yes, you can get on board, and it is well worth it. I think what really makes this ship so exquisite, and I saw her in New York, I saw her again in Norfolk, I saw her again in Miami. I had a chance to interact with people on board. The energy and the feeling on board was a little bit of anticipation and excitement. There was great joy at traveling with individuals from all around the world. Everyone was English speaking. What struck me was how the crew and the passengers were meshing, how Remy, the helicopter pilot, knew everybody by, or he was the sub pilot, I'm sorry, Remy was, and his Neptune was his baby. And the helicopter pilots were in the lounges sitting with people, looking at their photographs. They were on deck pointing things out to them, even when we were in the ports. And in my world, that's what this type of travel is all about. It is different. It is a little bit unusual, but I bet you dollars to donuts, all of you have got travelers that would love to have this experience. And we do have the 20 to 22 collection. There's a bonus commission right now. You can see the code at the bottom there. If you look at our website, there's some early bird fares and some early bird discounts. Some of them you see it's subject to availability. I had an agent call me last week and he wanted to book, and he said, but you got to get that early booking discount on for Antarctic. And I said, it's pretty close to sold out. And he said, oh, you've got to add that early booking discount. I said, it's gone. They're all capacity controlled. And my economics professor at St. Leo University would have said the pure economics of supply and demand. And we do have quite a demand. So we do need to be looking 21, 22. So if you book by December of this year, the early bird, the savings, the door-to-door transfers, there are different offers and available things. There will be more that will be launched. We just launched our new brochure. You can order it online and we can get you copies of it. I'm not a big fan of a hard copy. I find them I'm on the road most times, so I tend to go to our website and download a copy of the brochure to my computer and use screen pages or screenshots and reference it that way. But what I want you to know is that here at Scenic/Emerald/Scenic Eclipse, it takes a village, and these are my colleagues, my Krista and Mark and Tom and Charlie and Scott, and there's Oya, and of course Richard Hickey handles some of our national accounts. We've just hired a new vice president of sales. If any of you have been involved with ASTA and know the name Ann Chamberlain, you'll be thrilled to know that she's just joined us recently as our vice president of sales, and we just couldn't be happier about that. Here's the thing, there's somebody here for all of you, and that, in my world, is really important. I have a saying, no man left behind, so we'll make sure that everybody, that you get looked after, no matter where you're at in the field. I'm going to take you back full circle to where we started when I was introducing you to Scenic, this Australian company that's been kicking around for a while and taking Australians out of Australia to Canada and Europe and the United States, is a very successful company that expanded to building its own river ships and now have 18 of them on the Rhine, the Main, and the Danube. That area in Bordeaux as well as Portugal. And yes, we've even got a ship over in Russia. But Scenic is all-inclusive. It is a bit of a higher end. I like to say it's a no-wallet allowed zone. And then my other sister, which is my sister, Emerald, I liken her a little bit to a W Hotel. I have a very big soft spot for. Miss Emerald and our 8 ships here on the Rhine, the Main, the Danube, that cool feel of contemporariness. The wine, beer, and soft drinks being included, which in my world at this point, enough booze. 1 tour in each port. Indeed, it's certainly an option, and I would definitely think of it. But yes, scenic riverboats and Emerald are part of our entire fleet here. And that's who we are, and that's what we do, along with this amazing group of people in Boston, the reps that are out in the field here. We want to earn your business. We know we're a little bit different. We know we're good at what we do. And I do know that Eclipse has not been seen before. I've been in this business since before I was 20 years old. I repped in the Dominican Republic. I've traveled around the world. The Antarctic's going to be my last continent that I step on. This vessel is exquisite. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you and see if we have any questions or comments or thoughts. And I know that I have a $200 gift card burning a hole in my pocket, Miss Sandy. But there is a deeply disturbing question to be asked first.
That's true. And thank you, Jennifer. That was a spectacular presentation, not only about the Eclipse, but the other Scenic and Emerald ships, and lots of history. And that just was really very engaging and interesting. We do have some questions, so I'm going to ask a couple of the questions, and then we will get to that wonderful gift card that you mentioned. One of our agents wants to know if the owner's suite on the Eclipse has 2 bedrooms.
Great question. It is sold with a spa suite beside it to make it a 2nd bedroom, and it is a very popular configuration.
Okay, excellent. And tell us something about the group policy. Is there a group policy with TCs and whatnot?
Well, there is with Scenic Eclipse, and a lot of it, and I will say some of it is being worked on. I myself am not personally working on any, and I do a lot of groups on the rivers. I myself am not working on a lot of groups on Eclipse. Our TC policy on Eclipse is going to be dependent on the destination. And frankly, some of it is still being discussed and considered. Part of that reason is because the ship is selling so beautifully well that we're reluctant to pull space out of inventory for groups because the ship is selling so well. So the TC policy will be in the range of 1 per 15, and that will be a free berth at the 16th person. It will be high level. The ship only has 114 cabins.
Okay, great. Thank you. One of our agents wants to know if Scenic offers door-to-door transfers from home to airport to ship, etc.
Well, the transfers, yes. Scenic itself is a little bit different, and I'm going to go back to here because we generally have something with Eclipse. Scenic and such is a bit different. With Scenic, our transfers are always included. So wherever you go, you land at the airport, the transfers are included as long as you're arriving the day in. Eclipse is a little special. She's a little different in a couple of other arenas. You see here, we have the private door-to-door transfers as part of the 11-day departures. That's done through our department when you call in through our reservations. So transfers are always included with us. The door-to-door right now is a little bit of a special one with Eclipse. The other flip side of that is, again, with Eclipse, we're only talking about 114 cabins. We got people sometimes coming in by private jet. We've got people using their frequent flyer. They're coming in a different day and time. So I can't paint everyone with the same brush, particularly as it relates to that door-to-door. So we will also deal with that on a one-on-one basis through our reservations, dependent on the itinerary and what your travelers are doing.
Okay, excellent. We have a request to put up the slide again with the BDMs all over the...
Oh, absolutely. Coming up. I just moved out. Absolutely. My peeps are great. Here's what I love about my people. We've all been in the business a little while. Tom Van Dorn. Oya joined us about a year ago, same time as me. It's not our first ride to the rodeo. Yeah, we get it.
One of our agents says her clients will be interested in knowing what class icebreaker is the Eclipse.
6.
Great. Okay. I'm impressed that you know
Yeah.
that right away.
Oh, well, hey, well, yeah, and remember, I'm going to the Antarctic. You think I didn't do my homework? And with her class, there's a couple of classes with the ice class, and there's subclasses underneath these. The highest class that you can get are some of the Russian icebreakers. They're designed as icebreakers and escort boats and science boats because they are actually breakers. So they are qualified to break ice on behalf of other vessels. And those babies are monsters. I mean, they're woo-hoo. Then when you get the next class of vessel as an ice, it doesn't go in and break the ice, but it can be right behind this one. And that's the class of what this vessel would be like. We have really no reason to drive her into a bank of ice.
Good thought. Does the Eclipse accommodate young people, children, teenagers? Is there a minimum age?
That's a good question. And again, I would have to say, I think we need to have a conversation about that. This vessel is much more yacht than cruise ship. People are much more independent. They're much more on their own. There's small activities. There is the ocean labs, the subs, the helicopters, the book reading. It is definitely much more of an intellectual type of journey. I firmly believe that if we have families with children and teenagers that this is appropriate for, then I would reckon to say it would likely happen. She's so new. She's, really only been operating for 2 months now with, I'm proud to say, very great accolades. So that's likely not something we've run across. But in my years on ships as well, I also think not only of the family coming on board, but the other passengers. I remember one time being on Oceania, there was a family with young kids, and they were bored to tears, and it was obvious that it really wasn't a good fit for them. And I want to make sure that doesn't happen on board Scenic Eclipse, but I am also not presumptuous enough to make that decision on behalf of someone else.
Okay, and would you recommend it for honeymooners? I imagine adventurous honeymooners.
Oh man, if I was marrying a guy and he took me to Antarctic for my honeymoon, that big boy, he just covered his 10th and 25th wedding anniversary. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the people. If you're going to zip them over again, it's more of a yacht-like experience. It's not the Sea Dream and the tables. And, I was at my first all-inclusive a few weeks ago over in Cancun, and while I enjoyed it, it was what I was expecting with the tiki torches and, the $100 lunches on the beach and bottles of wine and the upsells. It's a very calmly sophisticated, contemporary, classy experience. It's very understated. If I'm 56, if my spouse took me, I'd be thrilled to pieces on a trip like that.
That's what
thrilled to pieces. Yeah, but I think it's worthy of a discussion. Absolutely. But it's a yacht.
Can the ship be chartered?
I'm sorry, repeat?
Can the ship be chartered?
Oh, heck yeah. I've done enough ship charters in my lifetime to recognize a vessel that's suitable for chartering. This thing's exquisite. She would make a fabulous charter for a small company, a small incentive. We had some incentive buyers by the sea, and some other people were on. I think she would be exquisite for a executive getaway. 114 cabins, 228 people. Yep.
Sounds great.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to take one more question. If we didn't get to your question, or if you think of something after this webinar is over, I hope you've jotted down the name of the BDM in your area, and you could shoot that BDM a phone call and ask any questions that you think of after.
Oh, and I'll tell you as well, and the naming convention is crazy. I didn't want to put up everybody's email. It's our first name dot last name at scenicusa.com.
Perfect.
That's it.
That's it. So, Jennifer,
First
for example,
name,
you would be
however you spell her last
Reynolds
name.
At scenicusa.com. Okay, that's easy.
So tom.vandorn at scenicusa.com.
Perfect.
Good people.
And our last question, how can travel agents see or even experience the eclipse?
I'm sorry, say that last part.
How can travel agents either see or even experience the eclipse?
To experience the eclipse, you would need to purchase a passage. There certainly won't be any fam trip opportunities coming up. If we did, they'll be extremely limited and likely to those who have already sold the product. And there are quite a few number of very high producing agents out there already selling Eclipse. So the only way to really experience it would be to buy passage on it, and there have been a couple of agents who've actually done that as well. The ship is on her way now down through Cartagena, the Panama Canal, down through South America. She's just not going to be anywhere on the continent until next year. When she does come back, and my hope is on the West Coast, as I mentioned earlier, that we will be doing ship visits in whatever U.S. ports she manages to find her way to. But I don't have that information at the moment. But she's gone. She's going through the canal and headed down to the Antarctic. So she certainly won't be visited here in the U.S. anytime soon.
Okay, good enough. Okay, I think we're ready to do our wonderful $200 gift card giveaway. And this is how it's going to work. Jennifer is going to ask a question about something that she discussed during this webinar. And I will take the 5th correct answer I see come across my screen. Type in your answer in the question area. And please wait for Jennifer to complete asking her questions. I won't consider any answers that come in until Jennifer has finished asking the question. And when we have a winner, I will let you know. Okay, whenever you're ready, Jennifer, go ahead and ask the question.
Are you ready?
We're ready.
Okay, I have one question and one question only, and it is this. What is the name of the submarine on board Scenic Eclipse?
Okay.
Let me repeat it again. What is the name of the submarine? I said it twice. On board Scenic Eclipse. Do 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 do.
We have lots of correct answers coming in. This is wonderful. Let me just count and make sure I have the 5th one. Okay, the answer is the Neptune, and I'm just writing down the name.
That is indeed it, my friends. It is the Scenic Neptune. I want to show you an amazing picture in the bottom left. If you're not following me on Facebook, please do. Just look up Jennifer Reynolds Scenic. That screenshot you can see when it was taken on October 15th. So I took it from Remy's LinkedIn page. Remy is the submarine pilot. That submarine is at 600 feet of water off of Port Antonio in Jamaica. There's a diver with them right there, and he is actually taking photographs. If you can imagine, this vessel was actually on a dive, on a photo shoot. And they are Scenic Eclipse passengers on board that. That is an actual picture of our Neptune diving off of Jamaica.
Beautiful. And let me announce the name of the winner. The 5th correct answer I saw come across my screen was typed by Donna Schellenberg. So congratulations, Donna. We're going to pass your name and contact information along to Jennifer and good folks at Scenic, and they will get in touch with you and let you know how to redeem your $200 gift card. So congratulations, Donna Schellenberg. This has been really wonderful. Our host today for this wonderful webinar has been the Scenic Group, and our fantastic speaker has been Jennifer Reynolds, CTC, CTIE. Jennifer is the BDM for Florida. Thank you, Jennifer, so much. This was wonderful.
My pleasure. Thank you for all of you and investing in us. We're grateful. We'll be there for you.
And I want to add my thanks to all of our agents on this call. We appreciate your taking time out of your day to join us today. I know you got a lot out of it. So enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.